I don't know if anybody's on yet. I've never done this before, so we may have some technical difficulties. Let's see. Anybody on yet? Let's see. Hold on a second. So basically how this is supposed to work is you guys, I'm like talking to myself, it feels very weird. Swipe left to reveal comments and reactions. I am swiping left. Okay, here we go. Can you guys hear me? Yay! Okay. People are on. I can see a few. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Amanda. Let me mute this. So basically how this is supposed to work is you guys ask questions in the comments and I'll just respond. Yeah, I've never done this before. So I think there's a Google Hangout option where then like everyone can video chat, which I would much prefer because I feel like I'm just like, it's like one endless Insta story and it's kind of awkward. So if you guys do have comments and questions, just post them in the comment section and I will go through them. Let's see here. Okay. So, Amanda did her homework and sent me a bunch of questions ahead of time. But I have some from Brittany as well. Let me see if I can pull them up. Very confusing. So uncomfortable. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna give people just another second to kind of come on. Can one of you guys write a comment just so I can see what it looks like? Please. Huh, it's not showing. That's weird. Okay. Swipe. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Alright, so I don't know where if you guys want me to start with. Okay, yes, now I see Amanda's comments. Okay, so much more helpful. Okay, so I guess I'm going to start with how I got started and the steps I took to get there, and then we'll kind of leave the mommy stuff towards the end of balancing everything. I know a lot of people have questions about maternity leave too, but basically I have wanted to quit for frickin' ever my corporate job, and I would get things organized and then stop. And I just kind of hit this point where, because I was scared, my fear of like regret is what I would always say. My fear of regret surpassed my fear of failure. And hi, Brittany. Um, so I went to a conference that I've always wanted to go to by this girl who I have this huge fan crush on, and it's called Designer Vacay. And it's targeted towards graphic designers. But that was the catalyst of kind of what started everything. I traveled to California by myself, to Palm Springs, stayed with three girls I'd never met. We just chatted for the months ahead of time. But it was half women who run their own businesses. It's all women, creative entrepreneurs, and half uh, girls like me who were side hustling, had corporate jobs, and had these dreams. Um, and that kind of started everything. So up until that point, I've been freelancing for the entire time. I would say roughly, I would spend maybe 5, 6 hours a week freelancing. So for those of you who don't know, I do graphic design, photography, web design, and I did a little bit of everything. So the first thing that got started was income, right? So I needed to know what was my minimum I had to hit. Not what I wanted to hit, what I had to hit to like pay my bills. Um, so I use an app called Mint, like MINT, um, and tracked all of my finances. It's free. You might see ads for it all the time. But it takes some time to set up, but you can label things like, what's restaurants, what's this, and it's pretty intuitive. It picks a lot of it up, but it starts to kind of monitor your spending habits. So once I saw how much money I was spending at bars and going out to eat at the time, you scale everything back. So I learned what bare minimum I needed to do to survive. Um, my plan was, that was in October of 2014, 15, 2015. My plan was to quit February 1st the next year. That would have given me, 5, 6 months. Um, but then I found out I was pregnant, so needed to have insurance. So I stayed the next year. The company I was with also was going to be sold, and they asked me to stay on to help manage the transition of the new company. So decided to do that, and it just kind of gave me a little longer to get my ducks in a row. At that time too, Thomas also got let go from his company. Didn't see that happening. 2016 was rough. And then yeah, it's called Mint, and it's a website too, Amanda. But I'll post all this to every resource I talk about. But when Thomas got let go, it also kind of hit pause. So we had to seriously evaluate our budget, and I think the biggest thing, my biggest advice would be realistic expectations on every front. What you need to survive, um, and be realistic. It is also unrealistic to think that you're going to live like, I'm only going to spend $200 a month on restaurants. You're not. You're most likely going to go over. So like, you can't live within a budget within, like, you need to have wiggle room. I think that was kind of a hard pill to swallow, that I couldn't make this budget that I needed to make work for a long, long time. So to quit took a little bit longer than I wanted. But so once I kind of saw what we were spending our money on, and that Mint tool too, it'll give you all sorts of spreadsheets and pie charts of like where you're doing this. It also suggests how you can save money. But it was how to lower our overhead. So monthly subscriptions, had a ton of them, had Birchbox, had all this shit, canceled all of them. I seriously limited like what I spent on clothes. I sold a ton of stuff. Everything I could do to like just lower overhead. The hardest part was we sold our house. We were living in Decatur. We lived downtown, but it was twofold. It was too expensive. Our property taxes increased that year by $400, which means our mortgage increased $400 a month. Yeah, not $400 for the year, a month. We couldn't afford to stay in that house anymore, so we decided to sell it. And I say downsized loosely because we moved to Woodstock, but we got way more house for a third of the price. But we lowered our mortgage. So, I mean, that was obviously your mortgage and rent is probably going to be your biggest expenditure. Lowered that as much as possible. If you are a couple, one thing that we did, especially if you are wanting to like work at home with baby, we are a one car household. Um, Being in the city, we made it work. We found out that we were home all the time anyway. His car started to die. He had the same Cadillac since he graduated college, and it just sat in the driveway constantly. So we were like, well, we kind of saw that like we could really actually do this. And I can count literally on one hand in the past 2 years how many times it's been an inconvenience. But that saves $200 to $400 a month in a car payment. It saves insurance. If you spend $150 a month in Ubering, that's going to, if that's, where you live, that's going to still less than having a car. You don't have to pay insurance. You don't have to pay for tag and title, that kind of stuff. So takes some heavy communication, but, we basically have designated days. But so lowering the house payment, if that's an option, lowering the car payment or getting rid of a car. People that live in the city, I know tons of them have just sold their car and they Uber everywhere they need to go. And they could have a $250 Uber bill every month, but that's still less than car, gas, insurance, all that other stuff. So there are sacrifices to make. So the biggest thing would be look at how much you spend every month, see what you can shave back realistically, and then you have to try to hit that goal, right? So when I was freelancing, I got to, there were months that I would make $300. There were months that I made $800. But at that point, I was only maybe doing it 30 hours a month. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm making that much money part-time while I had my corporate job, I basically was just doing it nights and weekends. What happened if I went all in, right? So there is that leap of faith. I wanted to get to where I was consistently making half of what I needed to make each month in my freelance business before I felt comfortable enough to quit. Because the part that we didn't think about was insurance. We did think about it, but had no idea how much insurance is going to be because now we're both self-employed. So that hurts. That's a hefty bill to pay. There are apparently like Christian ministry insurance companies where it's almost like a pool. It's a couple $100 a month. Somebody on Facebook was talking about this, so we're gonna look into that. But I think there are ways to make it discounted where you're not just paying it, but we're paying like $1,000 a month in insurance for the three of us because I want to have another baby in the next couple of years. So I knew that and I had a lot of complications. I need to have more than catastrophic insurance. So so let's see, Amanda. Yes, I would make a budget. She asked if step one realistically is making a budget for your future. Yes, I would monitor your spending. I'd say for like 3-4 months, and then see what you can scale back. And then this is the bare minimum I need to make. Now, the other part was having enough in savings to get started. So I also said that when I had 6 months, yay for another baby, yay Stephanie. When I wanted 6 months of bill reserves in a bank account, so that if neither one of us brought in money for 6 months, we could live. Now that's not going to happen, but it takes the pressure off. And if you kind of Google like how most people got started, most of them are going to say I had anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. The more the better, but it takes a while. So if you can lower that overhead as much as possible, it makes that number so much more attainable. Now, and this is bare minimum bills, so my mortgage gets paid, my power doesn't get turned off, my car doesn't get repossessed. It's not like groceries and things like that. Like that stuff where I'm comfortable putting on a credit card a little bit. Which brings me to my next point, which I guess was actually part of the previous point. Lowering your overhead. We paid off all of our debt. We have nothing but a mortgage payment and a car payment. We paid off every credit card. We paid off my student loans. Paid off having a baby, the medical bills. That was part of lowering the overhead as much as possible. So what I care most about is money in and money out every single month, because we're going to have dry months, and that's when the reserves, that 6-month reserve kind of kicks in. So yeah, monitor your spending, scale it back as much as possible, lower your overhead as much as you possibly can. Anything to help just take that pressure off of you every single month, you're going to be just so much more grateful for. So, okay. Any more questions about that part? Reagan's crying. There's a whole bunch of chaos going outside. Okay. So, let's see. Amanda said, what are some of the hardest challenges you overcame and lessons learned from day one of I'm going to do this now to, yeah, I'm a successful owner of business? It still doesn't feel real that I own my own business. I had a side business for 10 years. Still feels, it's okay, Amanda. Still feels weird to say that I own my own business. So my situation with my corporate company was a little different. Because I knew we were being sold. It actually kind of all came together beautifully. It's like God was like, you wanted to do this for a long time? Here you go. So I found out the month I was due with Reagan that our company was going to be sold. Didn't know if I had a job to go back to. Turned out I did. You know, they still hadn't even, corporate was so slow, the sale wasn't done yet, like they thought it would be. So when I came back, basically they gave me a 6-month contract, which I was like, perfect. I mean, so I have 6 months. I had a date, and it was June 15th, that our company was sold. I'd been with that company for 7 years. I'd started contracting with them, then they got acquired, and blah, blah, blah. 7 years later, I was still in corporate. But it's good. It pushed me out. It gave me, like, a time clock of what I needed to do. So I was offered another job with the company, one of the companies that bought us. It required us to move. We heavily considered it because it was an amazing job. It was everything I was working towards when I was in my corporate company. But I knew that if I didn't do this now, I was never going to do it. That if I didn't take the leap. So, you know, I was like, I'm 33, not getting any younger. This was the least responsibility we're ever going to have. Well, you know, we had a baby, but we want to have more babies. So, yeah, it kind of was like this insane push to just do it. I was terrified. I'm not going to lie and say that, like, I was just so confident and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was super freeing, but, like, that last week, I was on LinkedIn Googling jobs because I was so freaked out that this was actually going to happen. Not going to lie and say that I still don't do that sometimes, but I wanted a different kind of lifestyle. I was so tired of corporate, and I, towards the end, had a cush corporate job. I worked from home pretty much 80% of the time, but I'd gotten so far from the creative side of things that I wanted to be a part of that I was over it, and I wanted to work on projects and companies and brands that I wanted to work for. And then more importantly, I wanted to have a different type of home life with Reagan. I didn't want to put her in daycare every day. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just had severe postpartum anxiety, and I just couldn't do it. So all of those kind of came into play of how all of it should go. I know when I went to some of these conferences and met other design girls, I mean, even the biggest, most like online famous women that you see, these huge like social media influencers, they feel the same way. They feel like frauds, which was a huge like eye-opening experience that, wow, you have like 400,000 followers and you don't feel like you run a business. Like you feel like a complete fraud sometimes, and like why are people listening to me? So everyone feels that way. I don't think it ever goes away, if that makes you feel any better. Stephanie, I totally felt the same way. That's right. Yeah, so I mean, but every single person that I talked to who had quit their job, I was fascinated by people who were like, I left corporate and I quit my job and stayed at home. They're like, once you do it, you're never going to look back. And I mean, it may fail. I mean, 3 years from now, it could totally fail. And I'm like, you know what, I don't want a paycheck. I don't want to live like this anymore. But at least I can say I did it. But there's something about taking away the safety net. Like, when it's all on you, you are going to do it. if you have to go get a job at Starbucks or bartending, whatever, you're gonna pay your bills. Like I was terrified, like we're gonna lose our house, we're gonna be homeless. That's not going to happen. You're going to find a way to get the job done. And you have to network. I mean, and not in the old school networking way, but I mean, those are good too. But you have to like remind people of whatever it is that you're doing, what you want to do. But once you go all in, you're going to do it. So to make you feel better, Amanda and Brittany, I mean, the first month my first initial official month I left, I made more money that month than I did at my corporate job. So, I mean, it's like, and while I would love to be booked up like 6 months in advance, that would be great. I'm not. I mean, I'm still a little like tight ass home of, you know, right when things kind of start to dry up and I'm like, oh my God, the project's going to finish. How am I going to do this? Something comes in and we're just like 1 month ahead or 1 month ahead. And so, I mean, I'm good with that. So, let's see. Did you read any inspiring books or join any professional groups that you recommend? Yes, and I will post all the groups I'm a part of on Facebook. Facebook groups are a big thing. They can get annoying, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of really good ones. There's a lot of ones that were really good a year ago, and now they're so saturated. They're awful. I mean, it's mostly spam, but there are some awesome ones. If you are I'll post all this, but if you're a graphic designer or any sort of like creative professional, there is a group, she's rebranding it, but it's called She-Lancers, like female freelancers. She's going under a rebrand. Her name's Nisha Woolery. I've been a part of her group for like 2 years. It's like $10 a month. It's one of the only subscriptions I have every month, besides software. She posts great content. She always has guest articles, but it's female community empowering each other. You can ask questions. Another one is Being Boss. If you've ever heard of the Being Boss podcast, it's by 2 amazing women. I love them. They're hilarious. They curse like me all the time. One of them does. Their group now is up to like 40,000 something crazy members. So it's a lot of stuff. But there's still some really great ones. Another great one is the Rising Tide Society. So it's JFK's quote of, was it, a rising tide lifts all boats. Heavy creative professionals, heavy photography, but there's all kinds of people in it. I mean, if it's just to humble brag about a win, if it's to share your latest work, to get feedback about work, to ask questions, they're a great resource. They also have chapters in every city, like major city. I think there's like one in Atlanta, one in like North Atlanta, like Metro Atlanta, where they meet once a month and they have a topic every month that they go over. So there's something really, really cool about being with other people who share this fear, like quitting your job and doing all this other stuff. You get a lot out of it. Another awesome one is called Creative Mornings. I think it's the first or last Friday every month. Also in every major city, they have a topic and they talk about it. And I mean, it's really, really popular. But and it's like all these little networking events. I mean, I'm obviously heavy in like the creative entrepreneur community. It's a small community. I mean, it's tons of people, but you'd be surprised, and we all start to network. And what you start to realize, whatever it is that you want to do, there's plenty of work to go around. The amount of emails that I get where either I am outsourcing work because I'm like, hey, I just can't take this project right now, or people do the same to me. It's community over competition, which is like the Rising Tide Society's motto. It's really a cool thing. So Brittany just posted one, Creative Pep Talk. Maybe we'll have to check that out too. Another awesome podcast to listen to is his name's Paul Jarvis. He is an awesome podcast, awesome resource. He also does a course on MailChimp, how to like use, really leverage that kind of stuff. All right, let's see. How do you manage bookkeeping? Okay, so I'm a complete OCD nerd. I can hear those notifications bothering me. So in the effort to minimize overhead and monthly subscriptions, I use this software called Pancake. So Stephanie, it may not be good for you. It's probably not good for like products. It's more targeted towards services. Um, for you, I'd probably use like FreshBooks is a really good one. Um, I can send you a few of those, but um, Pancake, if you do services, it does time tracking, invoicing, all this other kind of stuff. But what I liked about it was one flat fee. I paid, I think it's like $250. But if I was paying $25, $35 a month, I would have far spent more money than I have with Pancake. The customer support is awesome. Um, I also use another app, it's a website called Cushion. I'll post a link to this too. Um, and it's basically financial forecasting for freelancers. So I put in my clients and the projects and the estimates of projects that I have. I have the goals of what I'm trying to hit every month or for the year, and it figures everything out. It also figures out time management, which is fucking huge. So, especially those of you wanting to know about working at home with baby, time management is going to be the biggest piece of that. So, lets you know if you're working too much, if you're overestimating, in your pipeline, how much you're working, if you have too many things going on. It's really big. So, yeah, for products, it may not really be the best, but I know a lot of people I know that sell products, they like FreshBooks a lot. Let's see. Okay, so another question somebody asked. Where'd my little paper go? Let's see. Regrets and should've, would've, could've. My biggest regret, probably not doing it sooner. I think I would be in a completely different situation at this point. Launching this while, like, within a first year of having a baby, I'm not gonna lie, was really hard. I had no idea what I was doing, and Reagan's schedule just kept switching up on me. So it's like right when I got comfortable, she switched. So I think it all boils down to confidence. I wish I had had the confidence in myself sooner to do it, and just took a leap. I wish I would have done it when I was like 27, and I clearly had like a pissant apartment and no responsibilities and lived in the city, and it would have been so much easier for me to kind of build this. I mean, now I'm 33, I'm tired. And there's a lot that goes into running a business, from social media to, maintaining your brand and networking and finding clients and, all that stuff. So, confidence. I wish I would have raised my prices a long time ago. I actually did the polar opposite. I actually lowered my prices when I quit. Because I don't know why. Not when I quit. When I got serious about quitting, like 2 years ago when I talked about it. Like, I had built a website in like 3 years at that point. So I'm like, oh, well, I need to kind of like start back to basics because I haven't built a website. It's just stupid. I'm not going to tell you what I was building websites for because I would shoot me if I found that out. So, but yeah, I wish I'd raised my prices more. I think literally everybody I talk to could raise their prices. I still could raise my prices. I get yelled at all the time from design people that they think I'm cheap. I'm at a price point though that I'm comfortable with. I'm at a price point that my client demographic is generally small business, family owned, generally just starting out or within like the first 3 to 5 years. Small employees, if any employees. So I'm told all the time that my prices are very fair. They're enough to be what the job warrants, but they're not astronomical. On that note, like somebody asked, like, do I do custom websites anymore? I don't. I think that in this day and age, you really don't need to. I mean, with how many there are. So I do website customization. I know enough CSS and code to kind of make them how I want them to be. But I also don't want to spend 100 hours on a custom website. I just don't. I'd rather move on and give it to you and do whatever. And that being said, I know my client demographic and they want to manage their own websites. So they want me to be able to hand it over to them. I know that I probably am losing money. I can charge monthly to do that for them, but I just don't want to. I kind of like being like, here you go. I do retainers for certain clients. I mean, and that's different. Like they're generally in the Atlanta area. I can go photo shoot and do their social media and update their site. But you know, which is fun because I kind of get to maintain their brand. But like, I don't want if you have to change 5 words on your website, a little bit of copy, that I have to go do all of it. So there are parts of that too of like really looking at it. Of for those of you who know what you want to do, getting rid of what you don't want to do. Don't do everything. For a long time, I did everything. I did flyers. I did banners. I did just stuff I like didn't want to do. So now, I mean, I'm comfortable enough to be like, I don't. Here's the name of a person who does do that. So, yeah. Let's see. Regrets. Taking on cray Stephanie's client. Yeah, Stephanie's one of my clients. No, she's awesome. Let's see. It's a little bit over, but I'll just go on for a few more minutes. So, let's see. What's another one? Eliminating back and forth with clients. So, get a contract. Always have a contract. I don't care what you do, you have a fucking contract. My contracts are not filled with a bunch of legal jargon. They're very normal language. And they're very clear. It's not even a full page. So that was one thing. I like hand wrote my contract. I had a lawyer look at it. One of my best friends is a lawyer, and you know it's enough. I mean, it's like you can't sue me more than the project costs. I'm not liable for X, Y, and Z. But to eliminate back and forth with clients, which if you are a designer is a huge problem, you get 2 revisions. That is it. After that, it's at an hourly rate. My hourly rate does fluctuate depending because not all brands are equal. When I do work with a bigger company, it's a little bit different because it's a lot more project management. Yeah, be very clear upfront about what they get, what happens if they go over. Be very communicative of dates and deadlines. Yeah, so let's see. That's the good stuff. Stephanie, how do you manage mommy time and work time? I just seriously feel guilty about work time. Yeah. So, if you are thinking about having a baby, because I know a couple of people on here are thinking about having a baby or have babies, the biggest thing I can tell you is be very realistic of what you can handle in a day. You know, I did not want to work 50, 60 hours a week anymore, which is kind of ironic because you end up working more, I feel like, when you work for yourself. But when you have a little one at home, so those of you who don't know, Reagan is not in daycare. She stays with me and Thomas. We have a nanny here today on Fridays for like half the day, 1 day a week. But Monday, or what, Saturday through Thursday, she's with us. How much work you can realistically get done in a day. So if you want to quit your job and do this full time, there's a lot of number crunching that has to happen, right? So once you figure out your budget, like we talked about, once you lower your overhead and all that stuff, you figure out how much money you need to make. You need to be very realistic about how much time it's going to take to make that money. And if the hours don't match up with the time, you know, there's a problem. So raise your prices, or something's got to happen. So like right now, it's not in our budget to pay for daycare because it's fucking ridiculous. It's like $1,200 a month. In the coming weeks, she may start like a mother's morning out, which is when they go from like 9 to 12. But we've tried to keep her home as long as we can to save money. Now we're probably going to put her in, not even so much for us, but to get just, you know, she's tired of us. She wants to play with kids. But you need to figure out how many hours you can realistically work in a day and what it's going to take. If that amount of hours, see if I say this properly, that amount of hours translates to the same number each month that you need to make. Those numbers need to match. They need to at least come close. Again, you have your reserves if you need to hit them, but there needs to be a similarity there. So when one of my best friends had her baby earlier this year, she works for herself, and she was like, how much work do you get done in a day? And at that point, Reagan was like 4 or 5 months. And I was like 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours a day is all I could do for a long, long, long time. Now, I am so used to working on nights and weekends I'm used to working till midnight. I'm kind of a night owl. That now, when she goes to bed, I'm comfortable working from like 8 to 11:30. I don't want to all the time, but I'm used to it. Like, it's not a big deal to me because it's literally all I've known my whole adult life. Um, but, and that's kind of, I could make 4 hours go to like 7, 8 hours. It's not ideal. You're going to hit burnout really quick, but that would be my biggest advice. That's going to be really hard to do. It's a hard pill to swallow, and that may make the date that you need to quit go a little bit longer. That's okay. You just kind of get your ducks in a row. I also tried to, for when she was a baby, and I only have one kid. When I have two, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I don't want to think about that yet. But, when she was a baby, for up to like 4 months, she just laid there. Like, it's like, here's a toy. And she couldn't roll around, she couldn't do anything. So she could entertain herself. Now, I mean, if I whip out my computer, she's going to like bang it and like throw it across the room. So when she's up, I'm up. And that's only fair to her anyway, that, I'm giving her all of my attention. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still struggling with that. A lot of things had to go out the window. Like, I probably didn't see anybody for 6 months unless you came to me. I did not hang out with you. So a lot of my socializing went out the window. A lot of these, like, networking things that I went to, that took a hit. My fitness took a huge hit. That was what had to go. That was an hour and a half every day. So, it's temporary. It's hard, but you'll figure it out. Let's see. LLC or S Corp? I'm an LLC. Thomas just set it up for me. I set it up a long time ago, but he just did it. So, yeah, if you're in business for yourself, that's a whole other topic. But get a license, get registered with your state. You can go online and do it. It literally takes 15 minutes. Set up a bank account in that business's name, and everything you do comes out of that bank account. Everything is tracked. Every meeting you have, I mean, you can write off your car if you use it for work, which you can use it for work, gas, entertaining clients, restaurants, coffee, whatever. Everything comes out of that account, so that way nothing of your money gets, could ever be tracked, basically. Like, the IRS looks at that. Yeah, that's a whole other beast in and of itself. Tax time of like, do you pay yourself? How do you do that? I mean, I'll let you guys know in a few months how that's working out. But, alright. One more question somebody sent was, what was it? Oh, yeah, Amanda asked, was the juice worth the squeeze? She's saying it like in college, was all the work worth it? Yes, 100%. I have never been happier in my life than I am right now. I'm not going to say that it's not hard. It's incredibly hard. It's honestly, it was kind of like jarring. I was a little arrogant, I think, because I had freelanced for so long. I thought that this would be totally nothing. Like, I thought, well, I'm eliminating a job, so I'm going to get all this time back. And I almost like didn't know what to do with that much free time. I thought I was very regimented before, but like when you have the whole day just at your leisure, it was hard. So that was kind of jarring. But it's totally worth it to have the flexibility and the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want to do. To me, it's worth it. It's not for everybody. 100% it's not, especially if you're an artsy person. Artsy people aren't generally business-minded people. Normally those like don't mix. So I think artsy creative folks kind of struggle with that part of it. But again, I'll post all those resources and groups I talked about. I'll post about some of the apps I use. Yeah. So I hope this was helpful. I'm gonna wrap up because we're a little over, and I know some people are like on their lunch break. But yeah, if you have any questions, message me. Somebody asked if we could do this at night with wine, which I think would be super fun. And I think I'm going to look into like a Google Hangout where then everyone can like video chat, see each other. So, yeah. But if you like it, thank you so much. Thanks, Stephanie. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.